Hello and welcome to a brand new week. We're back together for News Central Breakfast.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, Africa. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Breakfast Central. It's a Monday, new week once again, 12th day of April 2021. My name is Olisa, Chukwumah.
And I am Felicity, Ezewuike. Always a pleasure to know that you are on the other side and watching what we have for you. As always, it is a full package.
We hope you've had a wonderful weekend. Keeping it locked right here on News Central with all the news and views. And we're back again this week for another bumper week of breakfast, African breakfast news television broadcasting served quite hot.
It rained last night, actually, before we get to that. And a lot of us, I was on my way to the office, I was listening to a conversation on the radio and they were talking about when it rains, there's certain things that happens. Especially when it hasn't rained for a while. We'll talk about that a little later during our timeline, if we have time.
Right, then we can join the conversation and let us know where you are watching from. Use the hashtag NCBreakfastCentral and follow us at News Central TV and head to our website for more. That is www.newscentral.africa. And you can also download the News Central TV mobile app. Just head to your Play Store or iOS.
Of course, it's a Monday. Here are some of the things to expect on the show. We have some news update and what you may have missed. And of course, the morning tea captures some of the newspaper headlines across the continent. Our impact conversation is rich today. We will focus on the recent returnees from Libya and the steps taken by government to bring Nigerians trapped in other countries. There were big results in sports over the weekend. We will expect Onyeo Barrow to tell us all about it much later.
And in the world of entertainment, we'll be welcomed by, yes again, Amal Kansime. She's got all the updates, latest entertainment in the world there, and you don't want to miss all of that. We've also got our timelines also in the bag for today's program. But first, we'll begin with some of the news stories from last night in the news.
Of course, Benin Republic has... It's going through a process. The Republic's President, Patrice Talon, has lauded the conduct of yesterday's elections, saying the country had proven expertise in managing elections. Talon is widely expected to win, which have an election process which have been boycotted by the bulk of the opposition.
Now, News Central's Bernard Akede has been in the commercial capital of Cotonou and joins us now live for an update on the situation on as things are on ground. Good morning to you, Bernard.
Good morning, Olisa. Good morning, Felicity.
Good to see you. I hope you're keeping well.
Yes, we are keeping very well. I can't exactly say that the food has been fantastic. I miss my local dish.
I can imagine.
But we'll manage.
All right. How would you describe the exercise a day after, from turnout to security?
Well, to start with, I'd say turnout was, I'd say, relatively low, in my opinion, because going around Cotonou here, the commercial capital where we are situated, you could see that people were going into the polling stations, in trickles, in their 1s, 2s, and 3s, not like the regular crowd you'd have seen in Nigeria. Well, of course, the population of the entire Benin Republic is a fraction of what we have in Nigeria. There are people of about 12 million plus people, not even the entire population of Lagos State, which is commercial capital of Nigeria. So you wouldn't expect to see so many people at the same time. But also, it may also be as a result of some people boycotting the election, as certain opposition leaders had requested should be done. So, it's one of those two things. As regards security, there was heavy security presence in and around the town of Cotonou yesterday. We clearly could see police presence in trucks, on motorcycles, and on foot. And then there was the presence of the army as well in trucks, also patrolling different areas, making sure that there's security presence, enough security presence on ground. And this, of course, also is owing to the pockets of violence that erupted in certain parts of the country a few days leading to the election.
All right, Bernard, you just confirmed pockets of violence, but there were also reports that the opposition boycotted the polls. Can you confirm these reports for us?
Yes, now I'll quickly run through that. Now, concerning boycotting the polls, there are certain opposition leaders who called for a boycott the election. Now, and I'll quickly explain why some of this had happened. And this also is what snowballed into some of the pockets of violence that we experienced, or that the country experienced a few days leading to the election. Now, President Patrice Talon, when he came in 2016, promised to stay for only 5 years, which is one term. But after that, he changed the rules a little bit and extended his stay by 45 days for several reasons. And then he decided to run a second term for another 5 years. He ran as an independent candidate and took on Mariam Talata, a lady, to join his party to be his running mate, who eventually will be the first female vice president of the country should they win. But here is the snag. Now, the major opposition is a lady called Rekia Madugu. Now, Rekia Madugu has been very, very vocal and has been largely antagonistic towards the government of President Patrice Talon. Now, sometime last month, Rekia was apprehended and arrested. And some of the allegations placed before her was the fact that she was planning to disrupt the electoral process. So she was locked up. Now, not just Rekia was arrested. I'll go through a short list that I put together. Now, a businessman called Sebastian Ajavon was also, who came third in 2016 presidential poll, was convicted of drug trafficking. And in 2018, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. While another politician, political rival, is an ex-finance minister. His name is Komi Koche. I believe I pronounced that right. Now, he was also sentenced to 20 years in prison for embezzlement. Now, Ajavon presently lives in exile in France, while Koche lives in Washington, D.C. Now, when you put this together, it's difficult not to see that somehow there seems to be some kind of authoritarianism going on around.
All right, Bernard, in the interest of time, in the interest of time, quickly tell us when the result is expected.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that clearly.
Could you tell us when the result is expected? The process has been completed.
Okay. So, results should be expected to come out either today or tomorrow, at the latest Wednesday, all other things being equal. But of course, counting had commenced immediately after the polls yesterday.
All right, thank you very much, Bernard. Do keep safe, and we'll be back with you in no time.
You're welcome.
Right then, so you want to catch more on Bernard perhaps later on the news bulletin at 9 o'clock West African time. There'll be more inputs then on the election process and what went down, and the counting has begun. But it looks like President Patrice Talon may be having a lead based on what we are getting. So far, so good. Yeah, we have somebody on the ground, so you're sure to get the latest. Still on electoral matters, elections were also held yesterday in Chad. The polls are widely predicted to see the 68-year-old President Idriss Deby extend his 30-year rule. Now, Deby, one of Africa's longest-serving leaders, has so far defied growing opposition to his bid for a sixth term. Well, the government has arrested several people, including political leaders, for planning an attack on the Electoral Commission's headquarters and polling stations. Now, President Deby, who came into power in 1990, says he is confident he can win in the first round of voting. More election.
All right, more election for you updates. We'll get back to the latest on that. But for now, let's tell you about elephant poaching. In East Africa, the Kenya Wildlife Service says the country has recorded a near 96% decline in poaching, with more than 386 elephants being lost to poaching in 2013 compared to 11 elephants poached in 2020. A statement from the agency says Kenya's national elephant population has gradually increased at an annual rate of approximately 2.8% over the last 3 decades.
Well, it is attributed to the success, to enhance government initiatives to combat poaching and trophy trafficking, as well as the continued collaboration with national and international partners to stop the trade in ivory. So it looks like our elephants on the continent in that region are safe. 96% decline.
My spirit animal is safe. So yes, that's good news. I hope you see it.
I almost forgot that you mentioned the elephants here. How can
I forgot to add that whale is also my spirit animal.
How can you have?
So I'm
that's
happy.
Your water marine animal, right?
I'm just happy that we have some good news for you there. The size is, the numbers are increasing, and we hope that 2021, by the time we're doing, retrospective analysis, we would have more elephant in the world. All right, that's up.
Species. Right then, up next right here, Breakfast Central. Yes, indeed, it's all about the morning tea. Yes, welcome back, and straight to go with the papers this morning. So bring out your cuppers. Is it coffee, tea, black, no sugar, no milk, or perhaps cream if you may. Might want to go with some biscuits too.
Chocolate with a bit of coffee is always nice. You should try it.
Yes, go ahead. It's breakfast. That's what we call it here. Right then, where do we begin? Let's start at home, Nigeria, with the Punch to see what they have for us this morning. There's always quite a busy one on the Punch on a Monday. And there you have it there. Rising debt, it says.
DMO blames COVID-19. Experts say borrowing from CBN dangerous. I think there was a trending video from one of the governors, Edo State governor, saying that Nigeria printed some monies to share to states, and then also said our current status is not sustainable on borrowing. We should stop. Basically.
Oh, there's also a front page picture there, a gathering of, the Ohanese, that's Southeast governors, Nigerian security outfits against terrorists. Okay, so...
Southeast, they came up with, is it Iwagu or something? I can't get the name now, but if you check the story, you will see that there is a new paramilitary, they call it vigilante. The explanation I saw from the governor of Abia State is that it's a mix of all the vigilantes that already exist. They're putting them under one umbrella to enhance security in the region. We know that there's been an increased number of kidnappings, banditry, and of course we had the raiding of some police stations in Imo State. So they're trying to see what they can do. Whether it amounts to a lot in terms of ensuring that peace is in that area is left to be seen.
All right, so let's take one more paper from Nigeria, which is the Daily Times in West. Before we leave West Africa, the Daily Times in Nigeria, to see what they have there quickly. Also, security featuring quite heavy this morning in the Daily Times in Nigeria. So it says, bandits kill 8, behead 1. Boko Haram hits UN facility, murders 4 in Borno. Really sad, shocking story this morning.
This one caught my attention. Passports. It says passports with unverified addresses to be deactivated. And at the very top of the paper, above the masthead, you see more reactions trail. Olu of Waristool saga. Royals freeborn can't tussle over crown. Who is making that quote? You have to read the paper to get the details. We're just highlighting them to, bring you some that you might like. Okay, let's see what paper. Let's go to South Africa with the Sowetan. And the big one here is farmer shoots dead 2 brothers. Pregnant woman left grieving death of her fiancé after he died, allegedly trying to break up a fight on a farm. It just seems a lot of deaths this morning on the Sowetan. Quite sad.
There's one there where pop star rapper Nelly, a.k.a. on the front page. As you can see, both of them there on the bottom right. But at the top there, it's all about back to running. It says runners lined up for the Central Gauteng Athletics Half Marathon out there in the Gauteng region in South Africa. So it's the first road event since all that lockdown in South Africa. So it looks like things are going back to normal. AKA's
fiance's demise is one that trended on social media. Quite sad. I understand she's just 22 years old.
Really
shocking. She'll rest in peace. Okay, there are more papers.
Okay, let's go to East Africa. Yes, and we can go to, the Star in Kenya to see what they have this morning. Also quite a disturbing picture if animal lover. So that one goes, is it drought? I'm not sure. It says thirsty cow loses life in search for water. So a bit of a drought problem in there. Herders pull 6-month pregnant cow stuck in the mud at an abandoned quarry in the Gotani, Kilifi County on Saturday in Kenya. Really sad story.
Picture. And the pictures, this is one of those things you say, picture speaks more than 1,000 words. It's quite obvious what the challenge is there.
Yeah, pregnant cow buried in the mud.
There's a big one here, a bit of a money issue. How broke firms got 25 billion shillings Ketraco contracts. Firms collapsed, forcing taxpayers to fork out extra cash in new deals. You find details on page 4 to 5 of the paper. And there's a picture of a woman there, something on murder probe. Suspects say they left slain NLC staffer alive at scene.
All right, let's go to the East African from Kenya. We'll see in East Africa. There's a paper called the East African this morning to see what they have. So it's all about the commemoration out there in Rwanda. So you can see the Rwandan president there talking about Paul Kagame and his first lady lighting the flame in remembrance of the April 7th, 2021 Kigali Genocide Memorial to mark the 27th commemoration of the 1994 genocide in that country. For the second year, is affected by COVID last year. So commemorations going down in Rwanda. Yeah,
Rwanda and Tanzania, top region in $145 million IMF debt relief. We're just skipping that big one that's right in front of you. That's Landmark EA, $15 billion oil deal ready for signing. And on the side of it, you see Uganda, Tanzania, and Total to kick off record investment projects in final investment decision. Page 10 is where you see all the juicy details of that story.
All right, so there you have it for the papers this morning. We started in West Africa with the Punch and also went down south with the Sowetan and went to Star in Kenya and finished up with the East African.
I'm sure you do know that we can capture all the papers in the time frame that we have. So go beyond the headlines and read the content of the papers so you actually, because sometimes the headlines could be misleading. So read the stories so you have a bigger and better picture of it. We'll go on a short break now, and when we come back, we'll be talking our first impact conversation. Why do we continue to have migrant issues in this country? And then they get stranded, and then there's somebody's job to bring them back. We'll be talking about that. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Still Breakfast Central with Olisa and Felicity. It's Monday. We're going straight to the impact, but don't forget, catch us right here. Join the discussion, join the debate at New Central TV. Use the hashtag #NCBreakfastCentral. We're talking about now Nigerian returnees.
So, on March 17, 2021, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, that's NIDCOM, announced that another batch of 180 Nigerians stranded in Libya were received at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. Now, the commission said this is the latest returnees from Libya since the evacuation exercise began in 2017.
Now, according to NIDCOM, the returnees were quarantined at the Federal Capital Territory Hajj camp for 14 days in line with new COVID-19 protocols. Now, the International Organization for Migration, that's the IOM, has in recent months accelerated a voluntary returns program to repatriate migrants from a number of countries across the globe.
We now have joining us Franz Celestine. He is the IOM Nigeria Chief of Mission. It's a pleasure to have you on Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. We understand the IOM facilitated the return of 120 stranded Nigerians from Libya recently. Can you tell us more about that?
Right. This is part of our process, the voluntary return process that, as you correctly pointed out, that IOM has been working with the federal government of Nigeria to bring Nigerians who are stranded in Libya, but throughout even West Africa, including Niger, Mali, and further beyond Lebanon, Singapore, and the European countries. If we were to look at just the recent returnees, they were all from Libya. A lot of them actually were in the urban centers where they decided that they can no longer stay in that country and they wanted to come back home. There were some of them that were in the detention centers, which we have worked with the Libyan government to release them in order to bring them back. But it's a work that we do with the Nigerian mission in Tripoli and the various agencies here in Nigeria to bring all of the Nigerian back, be it unaccompanied minor children, trafficked women, and a number of those who want to come back home voluntarily.
All right. Franz, I want to take you up on the term voluntarily returning. Now, it's coming from the IOM in partnership with the federal government. In terms of what you've seen so far, if it's voluntary return, where are we having this voluntarily returnees coming from? Is it Libya? Is it the Horn of Africa? Or is it Europe? Where do you see these mass numbers coming from?
Right. So the vast majority, I would say about 90% of, more than 90% of those who are coming back from Libya. But even at the height of COVID-19 restrictions, when the borders were closed, we were working with the federal government to return people from Lebanon, for example. More than 300 came back from Lebanon.
Wow.
We brought a number from Mali, I believe it was 120. And then we had about 180 from Niger. Doing that, we were creating what we call humanitarian corridors, working with these governments to allow the migrants who were in very, very inhumane conditions to come back to Nigeria despite the border closure. So it was a team effort working with all of these governments. But they were coming from all over the planet, specifically, well, the neighboring countries, but also the Middle East, Asia, and Europe.
Okay.
Right. How does these evacuations happen really? You talked about the numbers that you have brought back. Are they all voluntary returns, or maybe they were compelled to?
Well, that's an excellent question, and we have to differentiate between those two, because there are those forced returns. These are people who may have violated their visas or their tenure, who may have had issues with law enforcement in those countries. These people are returned back to Nigeria by the countries, the host countries themselves. We don't participate in forced returns as IOM. Every returnee that we work with has to be voluntary. They decide that the conditions are such that in the host country that they want to come back, we would work with them. And that process requires coordination from a number of entities. That's IOM itself, the various IOM offices, depending on where they're coming from, the Nigerian mission in that country, the NIS, NCFRMI, the Ministry for Humanitarian Affairs, and there's NAPTIP. So it's a complex process to bring people back, and of course to even charter the flight, because we have to charter a specific flight to bring them back. We even do medical assessment for them to make sure that they fit for travel, and if they have any pre-existing medical conditions, that we connect them, we make the necessary provision for them to have the care when they're in Nigeria, beyond just coming back to the country. So there's a lot going on in terms of coordination, planning, and having the necessary provision for the Nigerian migrants before they come back home.
All right, Franz. According to your organization, the IOM, over 20,000 Nigerians have been evacuated back into the country since the exercise started in 2017. Now, what are some of the recurring reasons they give for returning?
Right. Even for return is the condition in the country, the host country. They may no longer able to work. They may be pursued by law enforcement in that country, or some of them are traffic victims and they've escaped it and they want to come back to the country. But then in fact, we've had the conversation with those coming back, about 72% of them said they face some sort of exploitation and abuse during their stay in Libya or whichever country they may have found themselves in. So, and then you wonder, why do people migrate? Why do they risk their lives, knowing the difficulties that they'll face in the country, knowing that they might even die during the process? There are a lot of push factors in the country here, and then a lot of pull factors in the host countries or the countries that they think might be a greener pasture for them.
All right, what measures are being taken to reintegrate these returnees into the society? We know the work is not just for the IOM alone. How are you collaborating with the Nigerian government in terms of resettling and reintegrating these returnees?
That's an excellent question, because I think that's the harder part. I told you the intricacies involved in bringing people back, but I think getting them to reintegrate in society, to be productive members of society, is even harder than bringing them back. So it has to be a whole of society approach to sustainable reintegration for those coming back. And we have to work with society, the government, the communities where they're going back to, and there's the issue of stigma that we have to address in that. So we work with more than 30 stakeholders to create the necessary environment for those guys when they come back, not only to survive, but to thrive in that environment. So we have the different types of packages for those coming back. There's the individual package. For the normal person coming back, there's the enhanced individual package for those who've been trafficked or abused. And there's the what we call the collective package, where we join 3 to 5 persons together to create something, a small enterprise that can work for them. And then the community level package, I think, is the most important one, because we see a lot of the push for people to migrate comes from the family unit, comes from the community. So it's important to target these various constituencies to make sure that when people migrate, they do it safely, but they are not pushed to migrate. So we work with, for example, I mentioned before, NTFRMI, NAPTIP, NEMA, the Ministry for Humanitarian Affairs, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, even aviation for getting the landing permits, port health. So it's like I said, it's a whole of government approach, but a whole of society approach. So it's an excellent partnership that we have to support the government to bring back Nigerian citizens to the country.
Wow, quite an effort, you have to say, France. Different organizations just putting together to bring, Nigerian citizens back from their country, even if, voluntarily. But we need to ask you before we let you go. Is there another batch of returnees coming anytime soon?
Right, and last year, before COVID, we were having 3 flights per week.
Wow.
And, yeah, it's usually on average about 180 persons per flight. But now we've, since at the peak of it we were, and then we were to 2 flights per month. And during the COVID-19, I think we had about 4 or 5 flights. So we are now negotiating with the government, taking all of the measures in place to have them. We have an upcoming flight later this month, and we have about 1,000 persons waiting to be moved back to Nigeria. So we're going to do it as soon as possible. So we may have 1 flight per month in the coming months.
Wow. Right. Thank you so much, Fran Celestine, Chief of Missions for the International Organization for Migration in Nigeria. Thank you very much for coming on Breakfast Central.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right.
It's our pleasure.
Wow.
What we keep talking about, people putting themselves and their lives at risk on a daily just to, better, let me use our familiar word we use, better themselves, I don't know. When you do all of that and then you still come back and then you still have to start all over again.
And the numbers are quite the numbers are quite shocking because we are focusing our attention on Libya and all that. But he just mentioned about 300 from Beirut, Lebanon, and different other countries. So you're asking the thousands of Nigerians.
Yeah, the sad part for me is you come back and you still have to start all over again.
Yeah, it can be quite a
And sometimes, you know, they take all their investment, all their life savings to leave the country, and then it doesn't work out, you know. They take a risk. Well, we're glad you're back safely. I mean, they say when there is life, there is always hope.
We'll take a quick breather and we'll come back for more right here on Breakfast Central. We've got sports and indeed entertainment. Right then, welcome back. Still Breakfast Central on a Monday. Let's give you some sports updates, shall we? We'll start on the African continent with the CAF Confederations Cup matches, as we saw some of them last night. A couple of results for you, just to be sure. But, well, for a Nigerian perspective, it was a disappointing one for Eyimba because they lost out in Algeria. 3-0 against that team called ES Setif. But they're still second on their group, though, so not to worry for the elephants, well, they call them in Nigeria. I remember, you know, Felicity talking about that being her spirit animal. Anyway, moving on. Orlando Pirates in the same group, 3-0 victory against Al Ali. Good one for Orlando Pirates. They stay top of that group A. Cotton Sport of Cameroon, 5-1 over Napsa Stars FC. JS Kabila against Bekane finished 0-0. And we saw a Tunisian derby between CS Sfaxien and Etoile du Sahel. That finished 2-2 between those two sides. And going to the last group there, we saw FC Nkana, 1-0 victory over Nubongo. And, well, check that out for results for Moroccan side, Raja Casablanca. They went away from home against that team in Egypt of Pyramids FC, and it finished 3-0 in favor of Raja Casablanca. We'll see one match today in the CAF Confederations Cup. It is Sanitas versus Diaraf. That's the only fixture to watch out for when it comes to the CAF Confederations Cup. All right, then let's move over to the European scene and talk about, well, big football results. We'll start in the Premier League. Manchester United. The game against Tottenham Hotspur yesterday finished by 3-1 for Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's team got 3 points, but they had to do that without some drama, though. Son Heung-min scored first after, well, it was a judge that he was hit in the eye. That caused a bit of controversy. But United came back strong in the second half. Like Edison Cavani scoring for them alongside that man, Mason Greenwood. It finished 3-1 for them away to Tottenham Hotspur. Not a bad win for them. Arsenal, meanwhile, away to Sheffield Wednesday. No problems for the Gunners on the road yesterday. 3-0. A brace for Alexander Lacazette, and that man talking about Gabriel Martinelli also on the score sheet for them. But let's talk about West Ham United and Leicester City. Now, that was a game involving two sides who were fighting for a top four finish in this season's EPL. Nigeria's Kelechi Iheanacho once again scored twice for Leicester City away to West Ham. 3-2 it finished. West Ham had Jesse Lingard on the score sheet again, but it wasn't meant to be for Leicester. There's still a big fight on who finishes in the top four in the Premier League. We'll keep you up to date about that one right here on News Central. Right then, let's move over to some golfing stories, and it's all about that man from Japan, talking about Hideki Matsuyama. It's a big story because that's one of the big breaking news this morning. For the first time, someone from Asia, a Japanese man, has won the Masters title. He did that at Augusta National yesterday, which means he gets to lift the trophy and the green jacket. There'll be more on that much later on in the game about who this man is. Hideki Matsuyama from Japan. We've seen tweets from the likes of Tiger Woods congratulating the man from Japan, and it's all about glorious jubilation in the country to have a Japanese winning the golf's Augusta Masters trophy. Well, that's it on sports for the meantime. There'll be much more later at 10:30 on In the Game. Right then, from sports we segue. Where to next?
Amal is here to give us the latest on entertainment. Hi, Amal. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Hope you had a lovely weekend.
Oh, I did.
Yes, that's lovely. Now, starting off, you know, Nigeria has been at the top of its game in music, in movies, and so much more. And Forbes has recently taken out the time to recognize the people that have done, you know, such great things. And we have people like, you know, Davido, Wizkid, Burna Boy, Swanky Jerry, we have Genevieve, we have Funke Akindele, Omotola, and so many more Nigerians that featured on the Forbes 100 Innovations and Icons from Africa. Also the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and other more people featured on this list, which I think is a very great thing for Nigeria and Africa as a whole. And Forbes say the list was curated from Hollywood exports and Grammy artists to award-winning ideas that can save the world. It also say the list is a way of celebrating these very ideas, innovations, and influential role models that have spelled Africa's growth over the last decade. Now, I don't know about everybody, but I think this is a very big win, having these people, because these people put in the work and they have really worked hard to put Nigeria and Africa as a whole on the map, which is a very lovely thing.
All right.
Yeah, now moving to Ghana, the National Film Authority has served notice of how it intends to enforce the law and its power to preview and classify audiovisual content before it's aired on TV. Now, if you do not submit your content, your short films, your movies, anything that should be aired on TV, you could face 5-year jail term for not submitting your content. Now, this is coming amidst calls during the last few days demanding regulatory action of TV content after it emerged that 2 teenage boys allegedly killed a 10-year-old boy for Manyirichus in Kasoa. It's a very sad thing what happened, but they're attributing this to the fact that maybe these boys could have learned such content and such habits from television. So henceforth, there will be nothing that will not go on air without being submitted to the agency.
Well, you mean in terms
that's a tricky position to take, really, because you look at it, we're all created with this antenna inside to decipher between right and wrong. Even there are times you lift your hand to hit somebody and it just falls down because there is an inherent, mechanism to stop you from harming your fellow human being. So to go all out, not only think it, plan it, and execute it, means that it's more than what you watch. There must be some other driving motivation to go take another human's life.
I mean, some would say that it's becoming harder and harder for creatives every day because there's so many processes already for producers and directors to go through before putting out content. Now, putting this measure, some would say it makes it harder for them. Others would say that at least they're sure that, premium content will go on TV. So it's been quite divided on social media with some people supporting this and some people totally against it. So we can't wait. We can't wait.
And this only goes for movies, right? Film. This is
short films. Anything that should air on TV must be submitted.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's the process. If they have more than 10 television stations, not to talk of radio stations, people are always coming up with ideas, so they have to verify all of this. It's going to be a huge responsibility, but let's see what happens with that.
5 years,
more?
5 years jail
definitely.
term.
And what I have next is very, very sad news. On when the last time I was here, I was talking about how DMX has been hospitalized, how he was hospitalized in hospital, and sadly, DMX passed away on Friday, and he has been remembered fondly by his ex-wife, Tashera Simmons, as she marked her 50th birthday. Now, DMX, the ex Gon Give It To You rapper died on Friday at the age of 50 after suffering a heart attack and falling into coma. His former wife marked her 50th birthday on Saturday. She shared something on her social media, sharing a montage of throwback photos from her childhood, but also her marriage to DMX, whose real name is Earl Simmons. Different artists have come out to show their support. All his fans have come out. And one thing that I can say about him, I love the positivity that's coming out and how people are posting the good side and everything, how inspirational he was. There's a lady who came out to say that because of DMX, she was able to forgive her father who was addicted to a few substances. So I love that people have come out to put out the positive side of him and let him be remembered in a very positive light.
There is no perfect human being. I mean, you get the good along with the bad. You just wait on a scale and decide, what do you want to amplify? And for me and for the rest of the world, because there's also a story behind every story, right? For me, and I believe a lot of people across the globe, it is
his music.
We're going to do this again.
And then that Party Rider, very beautiful song. So rest in power, DMX.
Honestly, yes. But that is all I have for you on entertainment. Thank you so much for having me.
Always a pleasure, Mal, having you here.
Once again, such a joy, delight having her, giving us the latest from the entertainment world. All right, so we still got more right here on the program, and there you have it on your screens. It's all about what's been on our timelines. We're going with yours
ready
first.
to laugh.
Okay, let's have yours
Let's
first
start
then.
with my own. You see, this job that we do, it's fun, and you see all kinds of things. You learn every day.
Yeah,
This today, a dog. It's in the spotlight. Let's take a look at this.
I think you're very beautiful. Yes. Yes.
Судя по всему, связь с нашим корреспондентом прервалась,
Oh,
и сейчас мы снова пытаемся с ней связаться.
Grandma,
На этой неделе до 8 плюс
I think
9
you're very
градусов.
beautiful. Yes. Yes.
I guess that's just what I wanted to share this morning. The cameraman was amazing. He also went with it. Content is content for TV.
I don't think she's a reporter. Right? I think that's Russian television. If I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
it's Russian television, and she was just doing her thing. Probably that's her dog. And while I was going through the comment section of that post, I saw another video of same news station.
Yeah.
A reporter, an anchor was reading the news, and then you could see her, cringe. And then the next thing you see is a dog, a very black dog by her side. So some person was making a joke like, it's like they're training dogs there or something. But it's just something that cracked me up, and I thought you would like to see it as
the
well.
things that happen behind the scenes, especially when it comes to live reporting in television broadcasting, you never
I wanted to
see
say
this.
something now, but I'm afraid it might not be television appropriate, and it's morning.
Okay, you can tell me.
I will tell
Anything
you.
that's
Don't worry.
inappropriate.
But I'll put it on
Tell
my
me.
social media handle if you really want to know what it
Anything
is.
that's inappropriate. I am here for the inappropriateness. All right, let's go straight to let's get straight to mine. No time to waste. I think I've gone on a sporting theme this morning. I saw this at the weekend, and I was thinking, who does this on the field of play? In a game, who really?
Just love me. Even for me, that's not a...
I'm still watching that. I'm seeing that again, and I'm asking, just look at the skills the guy is doing while we're playing, even if it's 5-a-side. And I'm like, if I was the coach, I would take him off.
Yeah. Why?
Even if we were winning 100-0, and you do this to the
Why?
opposition. Look at the opposition in
Is
red.
it not part of...
1, 2, 3, the whole.
But is football not also entertainment?
Yeah, but sometimes,
so he's
oh my God,
entertaining you.
Basically undressed that defender really with that skill. So I thought that, food for thought this morning. If you were a coach, come on. If I was his teammate, I would have been shouting, Oga, pass the ball.
But it was pleasing to the eyes, though, and
Yeah.
it looks like a lot of effort went into learning those
Yeah,
moves.
and because he was getting lots of, hailing from the fans, he actually did more.
What is it? What's this thing they call it? It's the support group.
Yeah.
We'll be clapping on the
encouraging,
sideline. Go. What's his name? Let's say Frank. Go, Franco. Go, Franco.
Me, coach, I'm like, okay, that is. So they're hailing you and you're doing it more. Oh, okay, we'll play again.
Do you have more? That's it for today. Don't worry, we've got a lot coming up on our timeline as well over the week, so you might want to stick around.
Yep.
Yeah, but you have to follow through the program to get to that point and get informed before you get a lot of entertainment. Who knows, it might not be entertainment, it could also be information. Thank you so much for being with us on Breakfast Central.
All right, we'll be with you again tomorrow, Tuesday. Don't miss it. Another bumper package of breakfast television news served hot. Bye-bye for now.